Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your patience this evening. We just needed to do some housekeeping things here. It is beyond the 7 o'clock hour, so at this time I'll start our regularly scheduled September meeting. I'm Sean Atkins, Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. At this time, I'd like to ask staff to please sound roll call to establish a quorum.
Commissioner Lovett, Commissioner Bell, Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Atkins,
Present.
Commissioner Tucker,
Here.
Commissioner McKnight, here. Commissioner Maxwell,
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to take a moment of silence, and I just ask if you all would please remember those who've been affected by this latest hurricane in our neighboring states of North and South Carolina and other parts of the country, please. Thank you. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adopt our agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Mitchell, that we adopt our agenda for tonight's meeting. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Our agenda is adopted. Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to approve our August 16, 2018 meeting minutes.
I so move.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxwell, seconded by Commissioner Miller, that we approve our August 16, 2018 meeting minutes. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Our August 16, 2018 meeting minutes are approved. Commissioners, the next agenda item is number 7, new business. We have several cases on the agenda this evening. I would ask staff if they would please sound our first agenda item.
Case number 2018 U-004-08, 2018 VC 014-08. The applicant is Eric Hackney. He's seeking a 3440 Lee Street. He's seeking a habitable accessory structure special use permit with a 2-part concurrent variance to increase the percentage of maximum allowable floor area in section 10-2130-0.9, and an increase in the maximum allowable height, section 10-2130.8.
Thank you. Commissioners and those who are here this evening, all of our agenda items this evening, they will require public hearings. So at this time, I'm going to read our rules for public hearings. They will apply to all of our cases, after which I will then ask if Mr. Hackney is here, if he would please at that time approach the podium. Public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be conducted in accordance with Section 10-2219 of the East Point Zoning Code and Development Regulations as follows. Persons both favoring and opposing the proposed case will be provided an opportunity to address the Commission. The applicant for the zoning case or the applicant's designated representative, if any, will be entitled to speak first, followed by other speakers in favor of the proposal for a total of 15 minutes. Those who oppose the proposed zoning case will then be permitted to speak for a total of 15 minutes. By majority vote, the Commission may increase the total time of speakers provided that each side is given the same amount of time. If there is more than one speaker for a side, the chair or the presiding officer may limit the time allotted to each individual speaker other than the zoning applicant. The zoning applicant may reserve a portion of his or her allotted time for rebuttal. Speakers must adhere to the rules of decorum. Prior to speaking, each speaker shall identify him or herself and state his or her current address. Each speaker shall speak only to the merits of the proposed zoning ordinance under consideration, shall address remarks only to the Commission, and shall refrain from making personal attacks on any other speaker. The presiding officer may refuse a speaker the right to continue if, after first being cautioned, the speaker continues to violate the rules of decorum. Those are our rules for public hearings. I hope that you guys all understand those things. And at this time, Commissioners, I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing for case case number 2018 U as in umbrella -004-08, and case number 2018 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -014-08. Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner Miller, that we open the public hearing for our first agenda item. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. Mr. Hackney, would you please state your first and last name and your current address?
Good evening. My name is Eric Hackney. I live at 1069 Columbus Drive, Jonesboro, Georgia, 30236. This special use permit is in reference to my property located at 3440 Lee Street in East Point, Georgia, 30344. Today, I am seeking consideration from the Commission for a variance to the current laws that exist for an auxiliary structure, and also a variance for height of an auxiliary structure located at 3440 Lee Street.
Is that all you have to say, Mr. Hackney?
For now on, I have more detailed information if the Commission...
Okay. No, sir. So it is a public hearing. It is your time to present to this body why we should grant you your special use permit and your variance. The Commission will not ask you questions during this particular time. We are only hearing from the public.
The current residence on the property at 3440 Lee Street was built in 1925, and the current laws for building a structure on that property are limited. And because of the limitations is the reason why I'm seeking a variance in both the size, not to exceed 20% of the current structure that resides in there, nor a height of 22 feet above the current dwelling at that property. And all of this information is currently listed in my letter of intent.
Are there any other proponents here to speak in favor of this zoning case? Any other proponents? Are there any opponents here to speak against this zoning case? Any opponents? Seeing none, Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner McKnight, that we close the public hearing for case number 2018 U as in umbrella -004-08, and case number 2018 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -014-08. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
In case number 2018 U-004-08 with concurrent case number 2018 VC-014-08, applicant Eric Hackney, location 3440 Lee Street. Due to lack of proper community notification and engagement, staff recommends an approximate 30-day deferral to our regularly scheduled meeting in October of the special use permit for a habitable accessory structure with the two-part concurrent variance to increase the percentage of the maximum allowable floor area and an increase in the maximum allowable height.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, you've heard from the applicant. You've also heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I entertain a motion. Yes, Commissioner Miller.
Motion to defer to the next regularly scheduled public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Tucker, that this body defer this agenda item to our regularly scheduled October meeting for case number 2018 U as in umbrella -004-08, and case number 2018 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -0108-08. Are there comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Mr. Hackney, your agenda item will be deferred to our regularly scheduled October meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would also just like to let you know, I don't know if there's more that you wanted to share, but the public hearing for your case was this evening. So at the next regularly scheduled meeting, we will hear your case, but there will not be a public hearing for your case. Okay? Thank you. Our next agenda item is 2018 V as in Victor -015-08. Staff, would you please sound this agenda item?
Case number 2018 V-015-08. The applicant is Amgoroid, LLC. The location is 1658 Conley Drive. They're seeking a variance to reduce the 5-foot side yard setback as required in Section 10-4050 to 0 feet for the installation of a driveway.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing for case number 2018 V as in Victor -015-08.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, second by Commissioner Miller, that we open the public hearing. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. Is the applicant present this evening for Amgoriod LLC? Please step forward, state your first and last name and your current address.
Diaz Carter for 1658 Conley Drive. My current address is 2870 Peachtree Road, Atlanta, Georgia. We're seeking a variance for the driveway that we are trying to add to the property. Right now, currently, it has no driveway in front or on the side of the house for any parking anywhere around the property. We're seeking it for the 0 setback so the property can go to the property line and next to the left side of the house.
Is it all, Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other proponents here to speak in favor of this zoning case? Any other proponents? Are there any opponents here to speak against this zoning case? Any opponents? Seeing none, Commissioners, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Maxwell, that we close the public hearing for case number 2018 V as in Victor -015-08. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
Case number 2018 V-015-08, Amagori LLC, location 1658 Conley Drive. Staff recommends approval to reduce the 5-foot setback as required in Section 10-4050 to 0 feet for the installation of a driveway with the following condition. The driveway must meet minimum width requirement of 12 feet, and the apron must meet Fulton County specifications.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, we've heard from the applicant. We've also heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve variance with staff conditions.
Okay. Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner McKnight, that this body approves this variance request, including the conditions as stated by staff. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is 2018 U as in Umbrella -005-08 and 2018 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -013-08. Staff, would you please sound this agenda item?
In case number 2018 U-005-08 with concurrent case number 2018 VC-013-08. The applicant is Jana Cato. The location is 1726 Neely Avenue. She's seeking a habitable accessory structure special use permit with a 2-part concurrent variance to reduce the setback for installation of a driveway from 5 feet to 0 feet from the property line in Section 10-4050, and to reduce the minimum width of the driveway from 12 feet to 10 feet, as in Section 10-4057.
Thank you. Is Ms. Cato here this evening? Can you please step forward? Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing for, did we open the public hearing already? Okay.
So moved.
Okay. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Miller, that we open the public hearing for this agenda item. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. Ms. Cato, state your first and last name and your current address.
All right, my name is Jana Cato. My address is 1726 Neely Avenue, East Point, Georgia, 30344. I am seeking the habitable accessory structure special use permit, which would be an apartment or livable, habitable structure above the garage. And I'm also seeking the 2-part concurrent variance to be able to install a driveway down the side of my left side of my home. I only have enough room for 10 feet versus 12 feet. and it would go up to the property line, Without the driveway, then the garage would not happen, so, or the accessory structure. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents here to speak in favor of this zoning case? Any other proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents here to speak against this zoning case? Any opponents? Yes. Please step forward, state your first and last name and your current address. Have a seat.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Members of the Commission, I'm Teresa Nelson, 1732 Neely Avenue, East Point. I live next door. Our city leaders frequently look to Decatur to learn good practices to attract quality residential and commercial development. According to a co-worker who has done residential remodeling in Decatur, that city's planning department would not even accept an application where nearly 80% of a backyard would be covered by impervious surfaces. Yet this application proposes to do just that. In Frog Hollow, an increase in impervious surface dramatically affects stormwater runoff. The subject property is on a slope and is adjacent to a 90 to 120 acre drainage area where the tiny house project is proposed to be built. In addition to exacerbating stormwater runoff to that property, the elimination of any setback for the approximately 140-foot driveway and a proposed 960-foot habitable two-story structure will increase runoff to both adjacent Neely Avenue properties. The builder stated that best management practices will be used, but state and city law exempts compliance from BMPs when the development is less than an acre. No detention pond is planned for this excessive runoff. I know about the increase in runoff from the subject property because my adjacent property has been harmed from poor practices by the applicant. When a previous owner mitigated the runoff to my property, the applicant removed the barrier which increased the runoff. After 2 years, the mitigation was restored, but a short time later, permanently removed. All mitigation done to relieve runoff on these properties has been done by me, benefiting both properties. The proposed driveway will partially cover roots for a major tree on the Self property, thus endangering the tree. When I spoke with David Self, he said he had received no notice of the application and was unable to attend tonight. In a discussion with Planning's attorney after the work session, she seemed surprised to learn that city ordinances did not require notification of even adjacent impacted non-resident property owners. Neither Self nor the tiny house developer were notified of this application. Not only does that raise due process issues, but likely violates the State Zoning Procedures Act. If I remember correctly from my classes when I was on council, noncompliance with the act could potentially potentially result in East Point losing its zoning power. Frog Hollow is a traditional residential community with virtually no long driveways or garages anywhere in the neighborhood. Approving this zoning change and the variances will set a precedent to allow such structures throughout Frog Hollow. The applicant states that the new structure will be compatible to the existing home, but doesn't specify how it will be compatible. And your vote tonight will be taken before that information is revealed. The habitable structure above the garage can be rental property. UGA teaches us that protection of neighborhood stability and affordable housing requires a ratio of 60% owner-occupied and 40% rentals. The applicant, formerly an ardent opponent of additional rentals on Neely Avenue, apparently now supports it. Neely Avenue's current ratio is opposite what is recommended, with 40% owner-occupied and 60% rentals. Though not a part of this application, this applicant has a history of ignoring neighbors' requests to address problems, violating city codes requiring construction permits, and illegal dumping on the property now part of the tiny house project. Can we really expect that once inspections are over and a CO granted, the applicant will mitigate harm to the surrounding properties? This application is bad zoning and will harm the community. The staff's recommendation to approve the application is not good public policy. Please vote no on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents here, any other opponents here to speak against the zoning applicant or the zoning application? Any other opponents? Seeing none, Commissioners, Ms. Cato, you do have a few minutes remaining for rebuttal. Should you like to use that time? How much time does Ms. Cato have? You have a few minutes, Ms. Cato, for rebuttal.
Like 14
Right.
minutes. Well, I guess first I would just say that the intention of the habitable structure is not to become a rental. Its intention is to be a guest home for myself and/or an office. Secondly, the person who just spoke is my next-door neighbor, and there's actually water runoff coming from her driveway that floods my basement every time we get a lot of rain. So that was something I was going to try and address during this project, even though it's water from her driveway. In terms of the water runoff from building this garage with the habitable structure, that is going to be addressed. And I have next to me the engineer serving on this project, who is also would be the construction manager. And his name is Alec Oler, and I would like to give him just a minute to comment on the water runoff.
Okay. Alec Oler, good evening.
Good evening. State your address also, Mr. Ola.
It's 17, it's a 544, 544 Ethel Street, Midtown, Atlanta, Georgia, Apartment A. Okay, addressing the drainage issues. She's right that the MS4 requirements for the drainage issues about the it's either over 1,000 square feet or over an acre apply. However, due diligence, my due diligence, I went and calculated the drainage part and captured the first 1 inch of runoff. And we're going to incorporate EPA, Georgia standard BMPs for that runoff to keep the runoff on the property. Because the goal is to keep that runoff on the property, and they have a hydraulic soil of B, which has good infiltration, and infiltrating into the ground, into the groundwater. That's the goal. They don't want it. You don't really want it going into the storm, into the surface water, because it causes flooding, and it causes problems there. So you really want it to stay on the property. Your water stay on the property, go into the ground, infiltrate in the ground, and get in the groundwater. That's a goal. And we're gonna incorporate best management practices to achieve that goal. For instance, the driveway, the pervious concrete, we're going to use pervious concrete for the driveway and contain that water. And we're going to use some other BMPs like water gardens and things around the perimeter to contain that water that on the property. So our goal, we're compliant with that. We understand the drainage situation, and we're going to do our due diligence to keep that water on the property and infiltrate into the groundwater. As far as matching the structure with the existing structure, we're going to keep the same architectural features as the existing structure, and try our best to match the house and everything like that. Another thing is it increases the quality of the environment in the neighborhood, because we have a bunch of parked cars on the street. We're trying to get these cars off the street too, because I park on the street, or friends park on the street. She only has one parking spot, so we're going to try to get these cars off the street and into this parking area in the garages that we're designing for. We're going to be as low impact and as green as possible. Try to follow LEED certified principles, and possibly even get the building LEED certified. So we're looking into that, and of course the best management practice for the drainage. We're going to try to keep that water, and it's pretty much we're going to keep that water on the property infiltrate into the ground, go into the groundwater. And as far as it's going to be filtered and everything, the necessary, if you can't capture the first 1 inch of runoff, you have to filter the first 1.2 inches of 80% of total solids. It's in the water, totally. So we're going to incorporate all this into this project. However, the project is under regulated size, but due diligence, we're going to incorporate green, low impact principles for this infrastructure and project, and try to improve the quality of the environment as far as the cars on the streets and stuff like that. Get these cars off the streets, put some good BMPs into effect with the drainage, try to be LEED certified.
Thank you. Ms. Cato, anything else?
No, I have nothing else to say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, you're welcome. Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Mitchell, that we close the public hearing for case number 2018 U as in umbrella -005-08 and case number 2018 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -013-08. All in favor sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendations?
In case number 2018 U-005-08 with concurrent case number 2018 VC-013-08, the applicant Jana Cato, location 1726 Neely Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the special use permit for a habitable accessory structure in the R1A Urban Residential Zoning District with the following condition. The structure must meet minimum requirements of a habitable accessory structure per 2012 IRC with current state amendment. Staff recommends approval of concurrent variance Part 1 to Section 10-4050, reducing the 5-foot setback requirement from the property lines to 0 feet. Staff further recommends approval of concurrent variance Part 2 to Section 10-4057, reducing the minimum width of a driveway to 10 feet.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've heard from the applicant. We've also heard from citizens in the surrounding area, and we've heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Mitchell.
I move that we deny the application.
Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion fails. Are there any other motions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Miller.
I'd like to accept the staff's recommendation.
Okay. For the motion, we need to separate this. One is a special use permit, the other is a concurrent variance. So if you could separate those out in your motion. Remember that special use permits will go on to City Council. So if you would restate your motion, please.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept the concurrent variance 2018 U-005-08 and variance 2018 VC-013-08. Recommend that we accept staff recommendations.
Okay. Let me repeat that, and then just let me know if what I say is correct and I have heard your motion correctly. Commissioner Miller would like to recommend approval of 2018 U as in umbrella -005-08, which is a special use permit. Commissioner Miller would, with staff's conditions, and Commissioner Miller would like to recommend approval of 2018 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -013-08, which is a concurrent variance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just for clarification, it's a two-part concurrent variance.
Two-part concurrent variance. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Yes,
You asking for questions?
Yes, Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes, I do have several things that I would like to bring before this board. The city of East Point, no matter what ward you live in, is held hostage by water. It can ruin the quality of life of each individual in this city. One thing that has become a focal point for the city, which I give them kudos for, is that we're finally trying to deal with the situation of stormwater runoff, impervious surfaces that we allow to come in the city. Now, I know for a fact, Frog Hollow, the neighborhood, has issues with water and runoff, as most of us do in this city. You have the tiny homes that's coming over there. Anything else that's put over in that neighborhood that will cause runner not to take its natural course will be an issue, a continuing. Staff is doing their job by making a recommendation, but we have citizens that are held hostage over there because of stormwater runoff. I don't know how long Ms. Cato has lived over in that particular area, but this has caused damage, is my understanding, to her neighbor's property. It has not been remedied as of to this day, and to allow additional structure, pavement to go over there will just exacerbate the problem further for that community. Is that considered wetland over there? Do you know, the staff know?
No, it's not ESA.
Can you be more specific as to what you mean by over there?
Over
You're talking about on the subject property itself?
in the property in itself with the tiny homes over in that area that's being proposed to go over there.
Honestly, I can't.
Well, we
I
cannot
can't
have you to
remember
respond to
case
that.
with
The question was to
whether or not they were
staff.
considered wetlands or not, with the Echo Cottages.
It's my understanding that it is or it's is considered to be wetland over in that area. And then we're allowing another, we have noise in the audience.
Yeah. You cannot blurt out. Okay.
Building another structure of that magnitude. We hear that they're going to put into effect best practices leads, but that's not a part of the condition that we have put forth on the subject. I, in good conscience, no matter where in this city, the way that this city is just held hostage by water, can approve of anything or vote for anything that will ruin the quality of life of not just a neighbor, but the whole community as we continue to build and add concrete, add other buildings to that. The other thing is the structure that's being built in the backyard. Is that going to be rental? We say it's not going to be rental, but we have no guarantee that it's not going to be rental. I'm a landlord. I own a number of properties, and I know how rentals affect communities. We have nothing in writing that says that, well, I'm going to live back there, but rental properties affect values, affect, again, the makeup of a community. We have nothing guaranteed to say that it's not going to be. But my biggest concern is that we're creating more impervious surface. And as that comes up in the city, that will be an issue that I would try to deal with. I had to deal with it with my own personal property. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns from other commissioners? Okay. Do you have something, Ms. McKnight?
I have a comment, but I realize we already have a motion on the floor, but
That would be the perfect time. We can't make comments about a case unless there's a motion in a second. So this is the opportunity to make any comments or voice any concerns that you have.
Okay. So the concern that I have, very similar, is more with the water and whether or not we could actually, and this is a staff and attorney, if we can actually include an additional condition, that they actually meet a certain requirement for the property, just to avoid the water runoff. Could we do that?
Typically, comments or things of that magnitude are addressed during the building permit phase. You have the Water and Sewer Department who actually would be a part of this review of the construction of this. Those are the types of parameters that they put in place and they are responsible for ensuring. So that is the reason why you don't see it as a zoning condition, because those conditions, those type of conditions or requirements and standards are addressed during construction.
And if I just might weigh in, as a legal matter, I'd be extremely concerned about this body attempting to impose sort of stormwater, runoff,
Right.
wetlands kinds of conditions without evidence and expertise in that area. That's why we have development staff and why we have those regulations. This is, as I understand it, the garage is a 960 square foot structure. The footprint is probably less than 500 square feet. So in terms of stormwater management regulations, probably there are not many, but that should be left up to the development staff once they analyze and have more information at the building permit stage.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Understanding that, is it possible then that we can delay this until we as a council, as commissioners can see that information from staff, to read it and get a good understanding of how this structure will affect that community?
Are you requesting information specifically about this structure and this property, or are you merely requesting information about what the stormwater regulations in the city of East Point are?
The impact of this structure on that community.
There's absolutely nothing at this stage of the game that would require the applicant to provide that type of information. That information would require them to move beyond the special use permit stage, the zoning stage, which is where we are, and actually provide development and building level type plans, which is just something we cannot require prior to them going through the zoning process.
Is there any information that staff can provide us?
Regarding stormwater, wetlands?
The effect of the structure that's proposed to be built on that property and how it will affect the community.
Be very difficult at this stage, Commissioner Mitchell, simply because the devil is in the details. All we have at this point is a survey with the footprint of that particular structure.
Okay, you said it would be difficult but not impossible.
Well, maybe I should rephrase it and say it would be impossible given the level of information that we have now, yes. There's not enough information to do that type of assessment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to call a question.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to approve the special use, to recommend approval of the special use permit and the concurrent variance, made by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. All in favor sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed sound nay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Miller? Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Commissioner McKnight? Commissioner Maxwell? Commissioner Mitchell? Mr. Chair, the vote carries.
Yes, the vote does carry, so thank you. I just would like to say one thing about this case before we move forward. We had an opponent to speak against this case, Ms. Nelson, who stated that the city of East Point looks to Decatur when we're looking to improve, change, alter. I'm not quoting your words verbatim, our codes for zoning and planning regulations. Just for the record, I'd like to say that I've been here in this position on this commission for almost 20 years. I want to make sure that that is absolutely in the record, that that's not the case. I don't know that to be the case, and so I want to make sure that that is a part of the record. We have nothing to substantiate that, and I just didn't think that that should just go unchecked. So just should something arise, and I know that the opponent stated that someone that the opponent had spoken with said X, Y, and Z about certain cases. We don't necessarily look only to Decatur. We look at many municipalities around the East Point area when we're looking to change, alter, enhance our zoning code. So it's not just Decatur. So that is not absolutely true. So I just wanted to state that for the record. But thank you for bringing that up in your comments. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you coming out tonight to speak.
And Mr. Chair, if I just might, also for the record, for point of clarification, the conversation relayed to you between myself and Ms. Nelson was inaccurately portrayed with respect to the notice requirements under this zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. And so that'll be for the record as well. Okay, thank you. Our next agenda item is case number 2018 V as in Victor -009-08. Staff, would you please sound this agenda item?
Case number 2018 V-009-08, Land Engineering and Development is the applicant. The address is 1629 Washington Road. The applicant is seeking a 9-part variance to Section 10-2075A24A for distance requirements of drive-through restaurants, Section 10-2075 LB, or IB, I apologize, minimum drive-through lane width, Section 10-2075 IC, drive-through window street frontage, Section 10-2075 IF, landscape planter requirement, Section 10-14012A1, landscape strip minimum width, Section 10-14012A2, tree planting and landscape strip, Section 10-14013A, parking lot screening, Section 10-14016A1, building orientation, and Section 10-14017A2, drive-through prohibition for eating and drinking establishment.
Thank you, Commissioners. You've heard staff sound that agenda item. At this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Miller, that we open the public hearing for case number 2018 V as in Victor -009-08. All in favor sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. Is the applicant present this evening, Land Engineering and Development? You're the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brent Moy. I'm Land Engineering and Development. We're the civil engineering firm for this project. I have a question about, we're in the public hearing and I'm going to present some information. We're also, after going through the staff review and going through conversations with them, going through our CZIM and going through the work session, understand that we're going to do a text amendment, or there's a modification. We've already prepared one modification to the plan that we submitted initially, and my question has to go with that text amendment. There's potential to modify these variances as part of that text amendment, and I'm just curious if we need to wait or redo the public hearing once we know what the changes are going to be.
Public hearing was advertised tonight.
Yes, sir.
I'm responding.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Public hearing was advertised for this evening. Because the public hearing was advertised for this evening, we will hold a public hearing for this agenda item.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Will we hold another public hearing if we modify variances, is my question.
We will not hold another public hearing for this agenda item because it has already been advertised, and I'd like for our staff attorney to confirm that.
That's correct. I think what Mr. Moya is referring to is in the event that the text amendment alters the number of the variances that he needs, he can withdraw that portion of the application. But tonight, because it has been advertised, you will have this and probably only this opportunity to present your information relevant to the variances that are on the agenda.
Okay. And if a new variance comes up because of the staff amendment, we would have to take it back through the process.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
I apologize. I was.
No problem.
So everyone, I hope, is familiar with this location adjacent to CVS. We have a end user for this property. That end user is GPS Hospitality. They are a Burger King operator. They own a few hundred Burger Kings. I wish I could have had them here tonight, but I don't. The property itself is 0.8 acres. It was developed in 2012, 2013, and has sat undeveloped for that time. My client has marketed this property to multiple end users, and this is the best and highest use we've been able to find for the property. There are a lot of variances. They have to do with the size of the property. Angela went through each one individually, and I'm glad to do that. We have, the first one is 1,500 feet to the closest other drive-through restaurant. There's a Taco Bell that is within 300 feet of us, but not actually on our frontage. 10-foot wide drive-through lane. The city requires 12. Burger King's operating standards, 10 foot is the minimum that they require. We also have a 18-foot drive aisle adjacent to that 10-foot drive lane, so it's not 10-foot narrow with no escape route. The 5-foot planter adjacent to and between the drive-through lane and the parking lot, we're asking for relief to that due to the small size of the property. There's two that were on this table that are actually admin variances, so they aren't being discussed tonight. 10-foot wide landscape strip. Because of the size of the property, we can't fit it exactly as defined as a 10-foot wide landscape strip, but we're working to take what would be in that 10-foot wide strip if we make it 8 feet and relocate that landscape in other locations on the site. And that's what we would hope to be able to propose that as an alternative. The next one has to do with the number of trees planted and the spacing of the trees along the frontage. And again, it falls into that same type of scenario where, because of the size of the site, we can't do it straightly by the book, but we will put in, if it's 4 trees, we'll get the 4 trees in there. We just can't get them in there exactly like the code states. The next one, it has to do with the parking and landscaping again, and we're hoping to be able to add that landscaping back in other areas. The building orientation to the public street, this parcel is on a corner lot. There, it is a traditional drive-through restaurant, and therefore, because it is on a because of the orientation of the lot and the corner that it's on, we can't put the drive-through away from a right-of-way. So to have this type facility here, we have to have relief from that particular item. The last item is the text amendment that the city is talking about, and the city attorney clarified for us, and we understand it. We did submit a letter to the city yesterday asking that this be deferred to the next council meeting, and we have submitted a landscape plan to them showing an alternative. We expect to get some feedback from them and maybe make some additional changes before we come back to you. I'm not sure how that gets communicated to you, since this is the public hearing part of it, but we will be submitting that stuff to the staff. I also have this is the proposed building elevation. In the meetings leading up to this meeting, we did meet with the Downtown Architectural Review Board. I'm not going to speak for them. I'm going to tell you what I heard that night, and what I heard was they don't want a drive-through because the code says no drive-through. And the things we talked about relative to the site, the landscaping, the building we're proposing, those things, what we heard was they could work with us in the constraints of those things and the downtown overlay, but they just couldn't get past the fact that the overlay says no drive-through facilities. So I'd like to reserve my time to come back and answer any questions once opposition speaks.
Thank you. Before you leave the podium, please state your first and last name.
I apologize. I have my card here. Brent Moy, Land Engineering Development, 374 Racetrack Road, McDonough, Georgia.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents here to speak in favor of this zoning case? Any other proponents? Are there any opponents here to speak against this zoning case? Any opponents? Seeing,
Teresa Nelson, 1732 Neely Avenue. Good evening once again. First, I must say, I'm going to address some of the history of what's been discussed by this, in this application, but part of the history is that City Council went to more than one field trip to Decatur to meet with the council there. So I just want to make certain you realize that.
Ms. Nelson, let me be very clear. What I asked for were any opponents to speak against this zoning case.
I'm about to do that.
If you would like to stand there and continue to speak,
That
you
was all I
must
had to
speak
say.
to this zoning case, okay? And that is also a part of our public hearing rules, that you speak to the zoning case on the agenda item that we are discussing at the time. So we don't need to go back and revisit any of those things. That's not appropriate, okay? So would you please speak in opposition to this zoning case?
That's what I'm trying to do, sir.
No, that's not what you were doing, ma'am.
I'm going to the history of why we adopted what we did. I was participant in the discussions and on council when we accepted the overlay, proposed overlay. And the proposed overlay was that we did not want downtown to be a mecca for fast food. And the reason was not against fast food, but it was because an historic downtown should have an historic look. Historic looks that don't accept drive-throughs. CVS applied many times and couldn't get beyond that barrier. So finally, long after I was on council, it was accepted. The exception was accepted for them. And we noted at the time when they originally came to us that what we would see would be other businesses coming through that wanted to fast through the drive-throughs that we did not want. In addition, it was a strong sense that we wanted to orientate buildings on the downtown to the street so that the buildings would be cohesive in that in historic structures, the buildings were all the way to the street and the sidewalk. That was required for no less than Family Dollar on Main Street. It was also required for CVS to move their business forward in order to meet that. Now, this building, this particular applicant wants to make an exception to that, which to me destroys the look of the downtown. No matter what the building looks like, they've got parking in front of the building on both sides, both streets, both on East Point Street and also on Washington Road. You cannot get around that because it's a standard franchise that wants their drive-through. So it's an inappropriate development for that location for downtown if indeed we want to follow progressive downtown structures and downtown requirements such as it is in Decatur, because they're very strict and they don't have fast food restaurants in their downtown area for the same reasons. I think we need to pay attention to what our downtown should look like, what we want it to look like, what residents, because they went to the neighborhoods with a lot of these proposals, strongly supported maintaining the historic look of downtown. So it's time to put the street trees in, widen the sidewalks, and address that. It's not time to accept this many exceptions to the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents to speak against the zoning case? Any other opponents?
I'm not really an opponent specifically. I'm Tal Stanfield. I'm the chair of the Architectural Overlay Review Board, and I just wanted to clarify what actually transpired at our meeting. We did not review anything to do with landscaping because nothing was submitted about it. What we did find was denial based on the Architectural Overlay Ordinance, which specifically states, in fact, I can read it if you like, that fast food drive-thrus would be prohibited. And I apologize, I had not come here prepared to speak, but since the applicant decided to speak for me, I figured I would speak. So, excuse me just a second, I'm trying to read this off my submittal. Please bear with me just a moment. Okay. Specifically, the language states drive-through and drive-in facilities for eating and drinking establishments are prohibited. Thank you. Again, drive-through and drive-in facilities for eating and drinking establishments are prohibited. That is the exact language that's in the downtown architectural overlay ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Stanfield.
Thank you.
Before you leave the podium, we got your name, but we also need your address.
My
for the
address is
record.
1929 Thompson Avenue in East Point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other opponents to speak against this zoning case? Any other opponents? Okay. We've heard from all of the opponents. Mr. Moore, you have a few minutes remaining for rebuttal. Should you like to use those minutes?
I hear everything they're saying. We're here as part of this process. I know this is the public hearing. We're hoping that this goes beyond tonight and that we can get the opportunity to continue to work with staff to modify the plan and possibly work through towards a text amendment. All I want to say is we have submitted a letter agreeing or accepting the staff recommendation and would hope that you would follow that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing for case number 2018 V as in Victor-009-08.
I so move.
It's been moved by Commissioner Maxwell, seconded by Commissioner Mitchell, that we close the public hearing. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
In case number In case number 2018 V-009-08, the applicant Land Engineering and Development, the address 1629 Washington Road. Staff recommends a 30-day deferral to our October 2018 P&Z Commission meeting of the 9-part concurrent variance in order to obtain additional information.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've heard from the applicant. We've also heard from opponents from throughout the city, and we've also heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Miller.
I would recommend the staff's recommendation to defer to the next regularly scheduled public meeting in October.
Is there a second?
Mr. Miller, can you make it in the form of a motion? This is a variance, so we're not making a recommendation.
Just say I move
I move
that we
I move that we defer
to our next
to the next regularly scheduled public hearing
meeting. Yes. Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Miller, and it's been seconded by Commissioner McKnight that we defer this agenda item to our regularly scheduled October meeting. All in favor sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. This agenda item is deferred. Our next agenda item is 2018 Z as in Zebra-007-08. Staff, would you please sound this agenda item?
Case number 2018 Z-007-08. The location are certain properties along Camp Creek Parkway, El Circle, Young Drive, and Washington Road. This city-initiated rezoning of certain properties from residential limited to C2 Central Business District in accordance with Part 10, Chapter 2, Section 10-2212 and 10-2213 of the East Point Code of Ordinances to include a proposed associated amendment to the 2017 future development map from suburban residential to regional center.
Thank you. Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing for case number 2018 Z as in Zebra-007-08. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Commissioner McKnight, that we open the public hearing for this agenda item. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. Is staff ready to present?
I'm sorry, there's a correction. I apologize. The case number is 2018 Z-009-09. There's a correction to the case number.
Okay, so there's a correction to the agenda as printed.
That's correct.
Okay. So for case number 2018, Z as in 0-009-09, staff is an initiated rezoning by the city, so staff, would you please present?
The subject properties to be rezoned are in landlocked 225 and currently zoned RL Residential Limited Zoning District. The city is proposing to rezone the subject parcels, to C2 Central Business District. The proposed rezoning also requires an amendment to the 2017 future development map from suburban residential to regional center. In recent years, staff has recognized the constraints and challenges that could be encountered to develop single-family residential dwellings consistent with the current RL development standards along the Camp Creek corridor. The subject properties have frontage on or near Camp Creek Parkway. Due to Camp Creek Parkway being a regional State Route 6, providing access to Interstate 285 and Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, staff recommends an amendment to the East Point zoning map, as well as an amendment to the future development map adopted under the 2017 City of East Point Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The city was approached by a developer regarding a joint venture in the development of the properties along Camp Creek Parkway, L Circle, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. So sorry, I didn't want to get stoned. The city was approached by a developer regarding a joint venture in the development of properties along Camp Creek Parkway, L Circle, Young Drive, and Washington Road. On June 29, 2018, the city manager hosted an informational meeting for Ward D neighborhood presidents to discuss the proposed city initiatives and developments in that area. Unfortunately, there was no participation. The city-initiated rezoning supports a planned development that would include the construction of a racetrack gas station and the site for a new City of East Point Recreation Center to be located in Ward D. The remaining out parcels are slated for restaurants, with a potential for a new police station. Development of this type would align with the vision and intent of the regional center character area of providing revenue-generating, regionally marketed commercial and retail uses, employment areas, sports and recreational complexes. Further, the economic viability of these areas will be enhanced and support the overwhelming desire of the citizens and elected officials to provide additional recreation opportunities for East Point and the surrounding metro Atlanta region.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've heard from staff as this is a city-initiated rezoning. At this time, are there any other proponents here to speak in favor of this zoning case? Any proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents here to speak against this zoning case? Any opponents? Okay, would you please go ahead and step forward to the podium, state your first and last name and your current address. And if you would like, you could probably just go ahead and line up maybe 2 or 3 after the current speaker so that we'll continue the flow.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Patricia Kennebrew. I live at 3640 Victoria Drive. Victoria is the street after L Circle going back toward town. Last night in the Planning and Community Development meeting, we expressed our great displeasure and fear about the additional traffic problems and jams that it will cause to have this establishment, but in particular the gas station on the corner of Washington Road and Camp Creek. There are signs at the entrance into my subdivision, and there's one at L Circle that says, "Do not block intersection." Very few people see or recognize or obey that sign. When I'm trying to either come out of my subdivision, I usually just pull out. If they're stopped, I pull out because I've got to make my way in to get onto Washington Road to either cross Camp Creek or turn onto Camp Creek. And the same thing happens when I come back home, if it's in the afternoon especially, somewhere between, starting at around 3 o'clock especially, to turn back into my subdivision. Last night, I think it was pretty clear that some of the staff from the city did not recognize the other streets that were going to be affected by this additional traffic that this gas station will create, and any other establishments that might be strung down along the street there, along Camp Creek. It seems like Camp Creek Parkway is headed into the configuration of Thornton Road, Highway 278 going toward Rockmart. That was my shortcut to get to Floyd County. I'm from Floyd County originally. I used to always take 75, but after I discovered, the back road, I started taking that. Now it takes almost as much time, if not more, because of all the traffic back up on 278 to get to Rockmart and get to Highway 101. I want to point out that we need to be concerned about the pollution. Additional cars are going to bring additional pollution. We're already suffering from the airport noise and pollution, and we need not give up so much green space. Green space is necessary to our health. Trees, I'm going to read this from Google for y'all. Trees absorb and break down most of the major air pollutants, including ground level ozone, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and carbon monoxide. Just as we easily breathe these gases into our lungs, potentially causing us serious health issues, trees breathe them in as well, and they draw the CO2 out, removing them from the air. Just as we die from secondhand smoke, from cigarettes, cigars, etc., all the pollution that's going to come from the additional traffic and the stress. You all know what stress you feel when you're caught and stuck in traffic. I can't express any more strongly how big a mistake it would be to place that service station on that corner. It's not beneficial to anybody in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennebrew.
My name is Willie Cummings, and I live at 3122 Redwine Road in East Point. First of all, I appreciate you for having a process by which we determine how we do things. The problem is getting it correct. And I hope that this hearing will help us get it correct. I'm certainly opposed to the building of a racetrack station. Just as the young lady has spoken about coming out of Ale Circle, I was turning off of Camp Creek Parkway onto Washington Road and got rear-ended and totaled my vehicle trying to make a left turn on the Ale Circle to get back. I attended the meeting on Tuesday evening, I think it was, and I heard a lot, I listened a lot of us pros against the program. Now, I started raising the issue about traffic when I first discovered that we were having a problem after Camp Creek was being constructed, and opposed that. So at the same time, I came forward and said we need to do something about traffic going and coming back from Camp Creek. But what I've discovered is that in the process of building that facility over there, we got locked in, and Atlanta kept us from going west. So now we are coming east, and it's creating a problem for our neighborhood. I like some of the drawings that I see that's proposed, but I don't like any part of a racetrack station, especially when we have a traffic problem now. traffic, as I understood the presentation on Tuesday, the racetrack was attracted there because of traffic. Now, we're relocating a route to the Camp Creek Marketplace, and now if you put a racetrack there, you're just going to nullify the correction that you're making otherwise. So please listen to us attentively, follow the process, but importantly, get it right and do not put a racetrack here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings.
Good evening. My name is Fitzgerald Smith, Jr. I live at 2469 Stone Road in East Point. Been a resident here for 17 years. I am opposed to what they're trying to do with as far as putting a racetrack and businesses. I want to see the rec center. I want to see the precinct. I'm also one that spoke out for a recreation center in Ward D before the last Park and Rec's 10-year plan, when they were looking to put a recreation center all the way over there by the Georgia soccer field. And I recommended the old Woodland site, old Woodland Middle School site, for that recreation center. So I'm all for that, but I'm not for no more businesses there. I'd rather for you to look at giving us seniors and children a walk around, some exercise area, keep the green space. Yes, I need to let you know that I am the president of Washington Road Neighborhood Association, and I want to apologize to the residents because I did not see or receive any notice, but I hope that they do know that whenever I get a notice, that I send it right back out. And as important as this is, once again, I didn't see it, but I would definitely have sent it out to the residents. So I'm asking, and I'm not begging, but I'm asking that y'all recommend not to allow this rezoning for the businesses and racetrack. But let's put the recreation center there and the police precinct. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you all for your service tonight. I'm Vicki Huber, and my family and I live at 3437 Prince George Street, and we have lived there for about 17 years. And full disclosure, I am an officer in the Williamsburg Neighborhood Association. I'm here this evening to bring attention to the point that we did have only 2 days between the Community Zoning Information meeting and the hearing tonight. According to the 2018 meeting planner on the East Point website, this meeting should be at the October 18th date. To the best of my knowledge, there's always at least a month between the information meeting and the zoning hearing. I questioned the city manager about this Tuesday night. He said he believed it was a scheduling mistake that had taken place back in the summer. We all make mistakes, that's understandable and forgivable. But what is not forgivable and not fair is that the neighbors and residents near this project have not had the 1 month time to discuss it thoroughly amongst ourselves and to meet with our neighborhood associations and come to a decision and to what we will support, what we would like, and what we would not support. There was a good crowd in the room on Tuesday evening at the CZIM. Maps were handed out, and for the first time, people were able to see a lot of the details and information about specifics of the development. The meeting ran over time, and questions were left unanswered. I know I had several I didn't get answered. I ask you to do the right thing this evening and defer this decision. I think it's outrageous to only have 2 days from the information meeting until you're voting on it. It's my understanding that the road construction projects have to be completed before any development takes place. So I don't think it's granting the residents 1 month more time will make any difference in the, it's not unreasonable to ask for our time to have our meetings and discuss the project. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Huber.
How you do? My name is Ralph Hunt, 3632 L Circle. You can't hear me?
Speaking to the microphone, please, Mr. Hunt.
Okay. My name is Ralph Hunt. I reside at 3632 L Circle. I am a transplant from Los Angeles, California. I chose Georgia to retire, and El Circle as my retirement community because green space, quaintness, and leaving a chaotic situation in Los Angeles. Very much needed, and I was settled in. This 12 years ago. I was quite a bit blindsided by this project and the massiveness of it at my doorstep. I live basically at the corner of Young and L Circle. And it's extremely disturbing. I'm adamantly opposed. The increase of so many situations. As I say, I didn't even have a prepared statement because the whole thing blindsided me. But just to mention just a few things, the increase of traffic brings increased crime. Clearly aware of that. You know, I've had guns and things stuck in my face, and at being a retiree, I so much seek the peace. The L Circle is already a cut through because red wine is blocked off, whatnot. But upon seeing the diagrams, I see basically 4 new streets, tributaries being created in a very small, tight space. I'm sure they have, I see the proposed commercial businesses on Camp Creek, and that would be access to service those businesses. That's basically a 24-hour truck traffic, 24/7 truck traffic in itself. I don't know where the commercialization of Young would stop or when it would stop. That's basically my doorstep, but and I'm in agreement with the recreation center. Yes, the youth definitely need to have something to have them busy. And I heard the other gentleman mention walking space for the elder, and yeah, I've achieved elder point, and that would be extremely important for us or me, bicycle path, whatnot, which would be in total conflict with a commercialized area. So I want it noted that I am in extreme opposition to all of this, and I was out of town for a funeral, so I missed the meeting the other night. I was in Chicago, but and being a transplant, I don't have the greatest of networks, and I appreciate Mr. Fitzgerald. He has done a yeoman's job of communicating what he could. And now I understand more that he had a limitation on getting the information even himself, so that explains a lot more why I'm blindsided. And yeah, I'm extremely disturbed. And I had a lot more to say, but I'm really a little too much stressed to even get it out.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We have 3 more people to speak in opposition to this, and I would like to put a motion on the floor that we hear the next 3 speakers.
Yes.
Cut it off at that time.
Yes. So, well, is
Four.
there a second to that motion? Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Tucker, that we extend the time to allow 4 additional speakers. And the reason we have to do this is if you heard in the rules for the public hearing, there's 15 minutes given per side, and so we are now beyond that 15-minute period. I just want to know, are there any other speakers who want to speak in opposition to this? Get in line, please. So I would like to allow everyone who's here to speak that's here. So I just think that we should, there's already a motion. You said 4, but I would like to offer a friendly amendment or have someone to offer a friendly amendment.
6. You may want to just encourage them to utilize their time efficiently and maybe put a
Yes.
time limit on the extension.
I would just also, all of those things, just, if there's something that's already been said, and I know this is very passionate, if you would just very efficiently express those things, we would appreciate it. But I would like to allow everyone who's here to speak the opportunity to speak. So is there a friendly amendment to increase the number from 4 to 6? 7.
Okay, I will accept the friendly amendment as long as that we are precise in our speaking and not duplicate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Mr. Tucker, you seconded Mr. Mitchell's original motion. Does your second still stand? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to extend the time for the public hearing speakers to allow those persons in line, I believe the number is 7, to speak efficiently and eloquently, all in the same time. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. So we have increased the time. State your first and last name, please.
My name is Teresa Jones. I live at 2924 Arlington Road. My husband and I live there. My husband's been there about 40 years, so he's seen the complete development of the Camp Creek area. I am familiar with East Point for many years, but I've only lived there about 4 years, and this is my first opportunity to be at a meeting like this, so I appreciate you taking public comments. I am opposed to the development at Camp Creek in Washington, as they said, because of the traffic, but also the security. The neighborhood that I live in, mostly elderly, there are some young families, but it is basically a safe neighborhood. The neighborhoods take care of each other, but my husband and I are in our house locked down by dark, and I'm afraid, and I'm pondering the amount of crime that might increase with the amount of traffic that would come into an establishment like a racetrack. I know the development's going to happen down there. I love the green space idea. I love involving the community. But I feel like that the traffic right now on Washington, sometimes I can't even get out of my street on Arlington to turn left to go to Camp Creek. I end up turning right and going roundabout all the way up to Herschel to get back on Camp Creek. If that's that bad now, I can't even imagine how bad it would get. And I do understand that the traffic plan would be in place prior to the development. But I would like for this group to be more open to other kinds of businesses other than those that are just going to attract the high traffic. Something less intrusive than a racetrack that we already have two of very, very closely. It just seems like that all the businesses and all these business plans are just creeping in on our neighborhoods. And I love my neighborhood. I don't want the atmosphere or the personality of Ale Drive or Victoria or Arlington Road to change. I do think that the road plan is very important. I am concerned, I understand the concern of the people on Ale about the cut through for the trucks and stuff. But I do feel like that there are other options other than a very busy, high-traffic business to put on that particular corner. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thanks.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ronwyn Rogers, and my husband and I have lived at 3059 Pomona Way since 1979. We've reared our 2 children in East Point, and we've consider ourselves good stewards in East Point. I participate in the Washington Road Neighborhood Association. All of these people here are my neighbors and my friends. I've been their vice president, their secretary, their treasurer, and anything else that we needed to do. The police department comes to our meetings on a regular basis and informs us that we have very little crime in our area because we pretty much stay on top of that, and that we don't have that much to be concerned about, but they come to us every month. The whole issue of traffic that you've heard this evening has been said for several years of how it's difficult to get in and off of the various streets, including Washington Road and Camp Creek. And so originally, the intent was supposed to be to find a way to relieve those problems for us and for those visiting the city in terms of traffic. And so that's what we've been looking for, was a plan for relief. To my surprise, a few days ago, I heard about a development coming in to propose for various shops, business stores, hotels, and what have you. I understand progress, and I clearly understand how Camp Creek Parkway right now is like a diamond in the rough that's slowly become more of a diamond, and that everybody wants a piece of that. So when developers are looking for a place on Camp Creek to put whatever they deemed is going to be profitable, it does not, in my mind, include how is this going to affect the citizens. I don't expect for them to do that because they're looking for a profit, but I do expect East Point and those persons who are on the various commissions and boards to represent us the way that you said that you have our best interest at heart. With that said, this particular plan exposes an established community. We're tucked away, airplane noise, okay, but we have been there, and no one comes down L unless they have a reason to come down L, or they're turning around, because we're just kind of like a little niche. You take all of those 15 acres and clear them off, and we're all exposed to any foot traffic, to any drivers, to anybody who wants to be curious about what's going on with the mostly now senior citizens in that area. And so I'm asking that you consider us in the plans that you're making. Do something that's going to be profitable for East Point. We welcome that. Do something that's going to give more recognition and invite people to come to East Point. We welcome that. Use that land in a way that's going to serve the citizens, but also benefit East Point. And I don't see how putting the stores and the shops and the many, quote, many marketplaces that's going to do that for us. would you please work on this and do what you can? My husband and I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Next speaker, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jacqueline Castleberry. I live at 2909 Arlington Road. A lot of what's already been said, I've been making my notes. My husband and I moved to East Point in 1975. So we have seen East Point go from nice little quiet town to what we have now. So, and then we asked for some development. Of course, be careful what you ask for. We had Camp Creek come along. So we are not opposed to some development, but as Ms. Rogers mentioned, our area, L Circle, Arlington, and all the surrounding neighborhoods, most of us are senior citizens. Our home is our retirement home. We have no plans of moving, and we have little crime. Everybody, as she mentioned, we have, everyone's a neighbor. We don't have a lot of turnover. I know the traffic, yes, we've seen a change in traffic, but what I would like to talk about is finding some compromise and not commercial, all commercial. I would like to see something more geared toward the community. I would like to see, use that land. I know backing up to Camp Creek, we have it's very busy, but it seems like some of that land could be used for like a walking trail, the recreation center. We 100% agree with that, because having raised 3 boys in East Point, Park and Rec was a part of our daily lives, going to Little League Baseball and having park and recreational centers, which we don't have. So I do agree with that. But it just seems like there could be a balance without a racetrack on the corner, with what that brings, because racetrack is a destination, which means that we will have traffic, we will have some crime. It would just change the whole dynamic. So what I would like to see is something a little bit more reasonable. I would also like to address when these companies come in, they get a tax break. They don't just, they come, but you have to offer something to them. So I just stand here and ask you to please vote no on changing the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Castleberry. Next speaker.
Good evening, and my name is Mark Fields. I live at 3673 West Potomac Drive, and firstly, thank you for extending the public hearing. It's super important to us, and I'll be respectful of the comments that have already been made. But let me just really highlight maybe 3 quick things. Process. We are blindsided. We are a very close-knit neighborhood, and we feel very much blindsided by the process and don't know how we are standing before you today when 2 days ago there was a hearing and no one else understood that this was even coming. Partly, the other reason why we feel blindsided is by the appearance, and I'm sure this is not intentional, but we've been talking about how do we develop that land over there, and when we say community, Washington Road Neighbors Association extends all the way up to Herschel, and then we have our friends at Williamsburg who then takes over, and we are all very close-knit, and we've all been talking about community and a community center and something that's going to go in for community, and can imagine now our surprise that it was not just a community center but a racetrack, which I'll highlight that if you're looking at where Camp Creek is and you go further, come all the way down, you have another gas station right there next to the McDonald's. Right at Desert Drive, where it lets off into Washington, into Camp Creek, there's another gas station. Right on Washington Road, as you turn off of Camp Creek, continuing on to 285, another gas station, only to have one more additional racetrack further up on Herschel, closer to Herschel, and another gas station at BP. I don't think you've heard anyone complain about something for the community, but I think hopefully you've heard very clearly the gas station is problematic for all of us. And then finally, I will just say we do suffer with the airport noise. As you clear 7 more acres off, it becomes now less buffer of sound, and now we're dealing even more with that noise. We have tried for years to get something to happen with that, and it has not happened. But to make the situation worse by clearing even 7 more acres and then 15 in total would be, I think, disastrous for our neighborhood. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, I'm Hilda Adams, and I live at 3674 West Potomac Drive here in the city of East Point. I'm probably being a little redundant with what Mark just said, but I just want to stress one more time that between I-285 and I-85, we already have 5 gas stations that have mini marts. All 5 of these are located at major intersections and with very easy egress. So I don't think that we need another service station, and certainly not another racetrack or another mini mart. But I am privy to what happens when progress takes over, because we had to fight and the city was on our side when the parking ride came from Washington Road to Camp Creek, which was straight through my backyard. So I understand progress and I understand what rezoning is. But what I'm asking is that at the meeting on Tuesday, it was my understanding that some things have been taken out of that C2 zoning, and I'm asking that we take one more thing out of that, and that's a gas station. Because I know we have traffic, but we will also have more traffic, we'll have more crime, we'll subject our neighbors to what really happens at service stations from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. And we have to consider things like explosions, fires, and whatever else these kinds of facilities bring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Our next speaker.
Good evening. Rome Harrison, Carmel Circle, East Point. I'm here because it was a shock to me that this issue came up with no notice for myself. In any case, there are 2 racetracks within 1.5 miles of either side of that location. So it's not like they've been locked out. There are enough service stations there to suffice anything for as vehicles are concerned. My 20-some years on the East Point Police Department, I worked enough accidents at that area. My wife was a victim of it. And my 20-some years in the military of planning and developing traffic flow. That's not a good location. And as I said, I have some background in that. I think you should demand of that applicant to do at least a 90-day or 60-day study of traffic flow as to how traffic will enter and exit safely. That's the key. Safely, because you are operating within 2 traffic lights that's less than a quarter of a mile apart. It says 3,000 feet or more. 2 major traffic lights. You're going to tie up traffic worse than you ever thought. So ask them to do their due diligence before they present something to you again for your final vote. Right now, I'm strongly against it for more than just one reason.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Our next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Annie Grimes. I live at 2901 Arlington Road. My family has lived in East Point for almost 30 years now. And I realize that change is going to happen, and the zoning will probably be changed, but I am just asking that if it is changed, that please keep our neighborhoods as safe, with safe businesses. We don't need another racetrack. We don't need a liquor store. We don't need a convenience store. We don't need any of that in that property area. So I'm asking, please, if you change the zoning from residential, please put some businesses that we can live with and not destroy our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Grimes.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, second by Commissioner Miller, that we close the public hearing. All in favor, sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed, sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
Thank you. Good evening. In reference to case number 2018Z-009-09, applicant, city initiated, in reference to certain properties along Camp Creek Parkway, L Circle, Young Drive, and Washington Road. City initiated rezoning of certain properties from RL Residential to C2 Business District in accordance with Part 10, Chapter 2, Sections 10-2212 and 10-2213 of the East Point Code of Ordinances, including a proposed associated amendment to 2017 future development map from the suburban residential to regional center. Staff has recommended that this case be deferred to the next scheduled meeting in November to provide time for the city to have a series of community meetings in order to provide for more input.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've heard from the city as the initiated, this is a city-initiated rezoning. We've also heard from the citizens of East Point, and we've heard staff's recommendation for a deferral until our regularly scheduled November meeting. At this time, I'll entertain a motion. Let's not all speak at once, please.
Motion to delay.
Defer.
I'm sorry,
Defer.
to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
It'll be the November.
In November.
The regularly scheduled November meeting?
The regularly scheduled November meeting,
Okay,
yes.
is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner McKnight, second by Commissioner Miller, that this agenda item, 2018Z-009-09, is deferred to our regularly scheduled November meeting. All in favor, sound aye. All opposed, sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. This agenda item will be deferred until our regularly scheduled November meeting. And one of the reasons that I wanted everyone who came tonight to speak is because the public hearing was tonight for this because it has been advertised. And so you took time out of your schedules to come here tonight, so I wanted you to have an opportunity to voice your opinions because there will not be another public hearing for this. And I wanted to make sure that this body heard your concerns this evening. So thank you so much for staying during the course of this meeting and for sharing your feelings about this particular agenda item.
Point of order.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, should this body desire to have a public hearing in November, it could.
Okay.
There is
We would
sufficient
just need
time
to
for
advertise.
advertising, but you would have to, now that we've had a vote, I just wanted to point that out. It is not inherent in, just because you have one public hearing, you can't have a second, especially where we have time to advertise, given the amount of interest in the community. I just put that out there. Maybe the commission might want if you desire a public hearing.
Well, would we need to reconsider the motion, or can we just have a motion to also have a public hearing for this agenda item?
That's fine.
Yes, so we would need to reconsider the motion. So I think that a part of what staff is going to do is going to be community meetings, but out of that, we may want some type of summary or those kinds of things as a public hearing for the November meeting. Okay? I entertain a motion.
That should be reconsideration, right?
You can
Reconsider
either do
the
it
vote.
through a motion to reconsider,
Yeah.
and then the motion has to, your motion to reconsider has to be seconded and voted on, and then you have another motion on the floor. Or, in the interest of brevity, you could just say, I make a motion that the previous item be a public hearing item.
But that's going to require these good people taking time again, a second time to come and speak, would it not, if we have another hearing?
Okay. So, Commissioners, entertain a motion. Okay. So then we'll go to our next agenda item. Next agenda item is 2018 Emmons and Mary -004-08. Staff, would you please sound this agenda item?
Case number 2018 M-004-08. The city is the applicant. It's a text amendment to Part 10, Chapter 7, Signs, Section 10-7012, Exceptions.
Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Knight, that we open the public hearing for case number 2018 Emmons and Mary -004-08. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. Staff, would you please sound your presentation for this case?
Thank you. Case number 2018 M-004-08 is city-initiated text amendment, citywide text amendment to Part 10, Chapter 7, Signs, Sections 10-7012, Exceptions. The applicant's intent is ordinance to amend Part 10, Chapter 7, Sections 10-7012, exceptions to add Part 6, a sign that is located on the same parcel as a building that is under consideration for or have been appointed with a historic designation through the National Register of History and Places and/or Georgia Registry of Historic Places.
Is that all?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Are there any other proponents here for this text amendment, to speak in favor of this text amendment? Any other proponents? Are there any opponents here to speak against this text amendment? Any opponents? Seeing none, Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Maxwell, that we close the public hearing for case number 2018 Emmons and Mary -004-08. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
Yes, thank you. In reference to case number 2018 M-004-0, 2018 M-004-08, in reference to citywide text amendment for text amendment to Part 10, Chapter 7, Signs, Sections 10-7012, exceptions. Staff has recommended a deferral to the next scheduled meeting in October to provide for more information and research.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've heard from, this is a text amendment, we've heard from the city as the applicant. At this time, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Tucker?
I'd like to make a motion to defer to our next regular scheduled meeting in October.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner McKnight, that we defer this agenda item to our regular scheduled October meeting. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, at this time, I'll take a vote. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. This agenda item is deferred to our regular scheduled October meeting. Staff, do you have any announcements for this evening? Okay, Commissioners, any announcements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? It's been moved by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Miller, that we adjourn our regularly scheduled September meeting. All in favor sound aye. All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.